15th anniversary special, my YouTube journey. Hello and welcome to another video. Yes, it's celebration time on my channel. It is 15 years this year since I made my very first YouTube video, which is February, actually, beginning of February, which is insane. Never thought I'd still be here after 15 years. Wow, that's just amazing. And given that it's a celebration, it's time for me to be a bit indulgent. Don't worry, it's only this once. And I just thought I'd talk about, you know, how it all started and where it all went and hopefully where it'll go. Now, I guess the beginning of this would be, it's not so much YouTube so much as what attracted me to YouTube. It was in 2005. I'm not sure exactly when YouTube started. Was it 2005, 2006? I didn't jump on immediately because I never jump on anything immediately, you know, unless I can see how it's relevant to me. Whatever, I don't care. It was the introduction of the concept of the fan music video. Somebody I knew on the internet sent me a fan video that they'd made for Amelia Frid, the original Cody in Neighbours, who they knew that I was a fan of. And I'm like, what the hell is a fan music video? Yeah, I'm like, what is this? What is this strange concept? You can actually see that video on my channel. You know, it's one of the earliest ones that I uploaded with permission from them. It's not actually mine, and it says so in the description. But I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's interesting. And I basically forgot about it. And it was nearly a year late, well, probably about 9 months late. It was the next year, it was 2006. And again, the very first YouTube video that I ever watched, the first time I ever went on YouTube, ironically, it was the same subject. It was Amelia again. Somebody else had uploaded like a minute-long clip of an interview on like some BBC show about the pantomime she did in the UK in Christmas 1992. And that was the first YouTube video I ever watched. It was the first time I'd ever seen her kind of as her rather than as Cody. And it was the first time I'd ever even heard about this bloody panto. I never even knew that happened until then. I'm like, what? Kind of pissed me off a little, actually, when you think about it, because I was like, you know, bloody hellfire. 18 months after you know, I emigrated to Australia, less than, and she was in the UK doing a freaking pantomime. Like, if I'd been there, like, 17 months later or whatever, and I'd known about that, I would have totally got to see that. I might even have got to meet her, got an autograph or something. I'm like, why? Seriously, wild horses. You know, I mean, Christmas '92. If you know, wild horses would not have kept me away at the time. She's probably glad I didn't know. I wasn't there. But that was my first introduction to YouTube, and at that point, partly because of that music video the previous year, so I kind of vaguely understood the concept of the fan music video. I started looking around at other stuff, and you know, I became quite a fan of fan-made music videos. I kind of saved and accumulated a lot of fan music videos for stuff like Doctor Who, obviously, Show Me Love, various other movies, Buffy. And I kind of built up like a little thing, and it's kind of interesting because it kind of educated me on a lot of things that I had no idea about, like downloading things, video files, how to convert video files to different formats. Because after a while, I kind of wanted to put them on disc so that I could watch them on my TV and not just on my computer. And of course, some of them wouldn't play, you know, because they were the wrong file type, so I had to learn all about that. So it was quite an education. But I mean, even then, for the longest time, I had no intention of making videos myself. You know, it was just I enjoyed watching them. I enjoyed collecting them. It was kind of fun. And of course, it was 2008. Obviously, it was 15 years. It was the beginning of 2008. And what happened what inspired me to make my first music video was I saw Show Me Love again. Now, I'd seen it back in 2001 and loved it. I saw it again a couple of years later and loved it. But then I didn't see it again for about 5 years. I think I was waiting for the DVD because all I had was like a pirate copy of a VHS that I'd rented. Oh dear, naughty boy. So I hadn't seen it for quite a long time, and it finally came out on DVD in Australia, and I watched it again. And again, I fell in love with the movie, and it because I'd become a fan of fan music videos and that, it finally inspired me to make my own. And so the first music video I made was a fan tribute to Rebecca Liljeburg. Ironically enough, it was just a photo slideshow, but most of the photos in it aren't even from that movie, which is weird when I think about it. And I did one for Alexandra Dahlstrom, who was obviously a co-star, and one for the movie. They were all just kind of photo slideshows. I wasn't even working with video at that point. Because again, it was this educating me. I mean, I'd had YouTube Movie Maker, whatever Windows Movie Maker, whatever you call it, on the computer for years. I'd never even looked at it because it sounded way too kind of intimidating. So I wouldn't know how to do that. And again, I kind of educated myself on how to do it. I'm like, oh, it's not that hard. And I made those videos and I uploaded them, and they did reasonably well, and I got some nice comments, and I enjoyed doing it. And I thought, I think maybe I'll do a few, for some of my other fandoms. I'll do like a Doctor Who one, or an Amelia one, or just a general tribute to some of my favourite movies and stuff like that, and from some of my favourite actresses in general. Now, and again, initially, I was not planning to, continue doing this. I was intending to do maybe half a dozen or so videos, just covering most of my major fandoms, and then just call it a day. Yeah, that'll do. That'll be my contribution. 15 years later. But I just enjoyed it. I just enjoyed doing it so much. And I did start working with video clips, and again, it wasn't as difficult as I thought it might have been. And again, the videos, they did quite well. I mean, I've never been a massive YouTuber, but they did well. People liked them. I got nice comments, and I enjoyed doing them. And it just started from there. It just became a fun little hobby, making fan music videos. And that's pretty much all this channel was for about 8 years. The first 2 years, 2008, 2009, were by far the most productive. I don't know the exact. I think I did like 60 odd videos, or even 80 something in the first year, then 60 something in the second year. And over time, it kind of eventually dwindled down. In 2011, I became a fan of Emma Watson, and that kind of worked its way in there. One thing I always, even from the very beginning, at least when I decided to, I never wanted to be about any one thing, and I think that was a smart move, because you see there's so many YouTube channels that are just devoted to one thing, and a lot of them just die. Because either they lose interest in that one thing, or that one thing, if it's a TV show or something, it finishes, and you see a lot of these ghost town YouTube channels that are specifically for one kind of topic, and they just don't go anywhere. And the other thing, I mean, even if it was something like Doctor Who, which obviously I still do a lot of, it's like I don't just have one fandom. I have lots of different fandoms. And even back then, I'm like, I want to be able to, even when I was just doing music videos, I want to be able to represent all of the different fandoms, not just stick to one particular thing. And I think, honestly, that's why I'm still here. I mean, given that this is still just a hobby, I don't make money out of it, it's just fun. And I think that's what makes it still fun, because I can just do about anything. Yeah, Doctor Who's a strong part of my channel, but it's not the only part of my channel. And if I get a new fandom or I rediscover an old fandom, I can weave it into whatever I do. Like when I rediscovered my Bridget Novelle fandom in 2020. Again, I don't have to change the whole channel. It doesn't have to take over the whole channel. I can just feed it into the, for want of a better word, the mosaic that is my channel. That's so pretentious. But I think that's why I'm still here. I mean, because I can do anything. If it's something I'm a fan of, I can include it as part of the channel, be it in music vids, reviews, whatever. Anyway, I guess the next kind of major turn was at the beginning of 2016, of course, because 2015 was pretty much my worst year on YouTube. It was my least productive. I think I did like maybe 22 videos. Not very many. And honestly, I was getting bored. I was getting bored and I was running out of ideas, because it had just basically come down to now. It felt like it was just actress music videos with the occasional musical countdown thrown in. That was literally all it was. And I mean, with some it was like I'd even run out of new material to use, like say with Rebecca Liljeburg. I pretty much used every single fucking photo there was of her at that point, because she'd pretty much retired in the early 2000s anyway. So it was like I'm running out of ideas here. I think it was becoming really predictable, you know. It was like an Alex music video, an Emma music video, a Clements Posey music video, and maybe a musical countdown. Basically repeated ad nauseum. I mean, I was getting bored. I even thought about just kind of stopping. I even thought about just... At the same time, I didn't really want to, because I liked having a YouTube channel. I was just getting really bored with it, and I felt I was running out of ideas for music vids, particularly. And then what happened was, and again, it wasn't even, I wish I could say it was a deliberate master plan, but it wasn't. I was reading a lot of ebooks, and I was reading them on the computer, and because I was spending more time on the computer than I normally had, because obviously I work on the computer as well, I was starting to get eye strain just because of all the hours that I was spending on. And I'm like, isn't there a way to kind of convert these ebooks into like audiobooks so that I can just, you know, put them on disc, go sit down in my sitting room and just listen to them and not have to be staring at a computer screen? And because of that, I kind of researched text-to-speech stuff, and I found the Ivona voices. And there's a lot of them, and most of them I wasn't that keen on, but there were two that I thought were really good. Both of them were British voices, of course. British is best, we all know that. There was a British female called Amy, and there was a British male called Brian. And after doing some experimenting, I kind of figured out that the Amy voice was better for like longer fiction and more serious fiction. I found it more listenable, more easy to engage with. Whereas the male British voice, the Brian voice, was better for shorter, snappier, and funnier things, because it had this kind of sardonic tone to it, and it seemed to work well for that sort of thing. And that's why I kind of got that voice. And it was only after I started doing it I was happy with it. I'm like, I wonder if there's some way I can, you know, use this on my YouTube channel. I mean, I had briefly thought about doing reviews, but I'd always kind of looked up microphones on eBay, and it was like $300-400 a time. I'm like, I'm not paying that. You know, I don't even know if anybody even wants to listen to me reviewing stuff on YouTube, let alone, you know, I'm paying that much for it, even if they do. And I thought, I wonder if this would work. And so I did a couple of test ones. I think there was a Doctor Who one, a Silurians review, putting that, putting a review that I'd written through the text to speech, getting the voice, and then putting it to images. And it worked in principle, but I kind of thought it was a bit dry and it was a bit boring. So I like the idea of it, but the first few kind of tests I wasn't that impressed, and I wasn't really that interested in carrying on with it. And then, just kind of for a laugh, I put this barely a paragraph vicious review of Kinder that I'd written, posted on a couple of forums, because I just rewatched it and hated it, as I always do. I put that through the text-to-speech thing, basically just a ranting review, and it came out kind of funny with the Brian voice. It came out kind of amusing, and I thought that's funny. So I uploaded that, and it got quite a decent response. And I thought it was funny, so I ended up doing that. There was a couple like that, and then there was the first season by season I did, which was a season 17 review. And that was quite cutting too, not toward the season, because I love the season, but towards all these people who slag off the season because they're miserable, humorless gits. I put that through, and that was like 6 minutes. And again, I thought it worked, and I thought it was funny, and it got a good response from people. And I'm like, if the voice can actually carry for a reasonable length of time, rather than just a minute, if it can carry a video for 6 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And then I did like a season 18 one, which was 10 minutes. And that was the most successful one yet. And my subscribers started going up. But I think about early 2016, I had something like 360 odd subscribers, and that was it. And the moment I started doing Doctor Who reviews, suddenly the subscriber number went up. But yeah, after those three, I think, just the Kinder one, just for the lols, and then the season 17 review, and then really the season 18 review, which was a 10-minute one, and it got a great response. And I thought that it worked. I thought that the voice carried it through with this kind of punk in your face, get stuff, this is my opinion if you don't like it attitude. And it just kind of went from there. It just kind of took off, and it just kind of went from there. And it's like, oh, okay, now I'm a review channel now. Again, all of this is terribly, none of this is ever planned. I'm just winging it. Well, I'm always winging it. I never stopped doing YouTube. Music videos entirely, but they certainly became very much a secondary concern after the reviews took off. And that went on for a couple of years. It ultimately went on for about 4 years using the voice, just over 4 years. I think in the last couple of years, especially, I started getting a little bit bored of having to write so much to put it through the text to speech, and B, always having to do the kind of the in your face attitude and that. I don't mind being funny and saying humorous things, but it got a little tedious. And I never wanted to be a negative review channel. I don't want to bash things. So having to have that kind of punk attitude, even when you're doing a positive review, it started getting a little bit. I'm getting a little bit bored of this. And again, I wish I could say that I planned this stuff, but I don't. It was 2020. I don't know whether it was May or June or something like that. And I just I went on eBay and just checked up microphones. And I actually found one that was halfway affordable, and in fact it was very cheap. And I'm like, okay, that's reasonable. I don't mind paying that, see whether it worked. Because again, I didn't know if I'm a bit of an introvert, so I didn't know if I'd like sitting down with a microphone and talking, even if it was to just me reciting a written review. I guess I should have known I would, because I liked acting when I was in my teens. I haven't done it for a very long time, and I've never had the opportunity. But I guess that should have perhaps clued me in that I would like it. Anyway, I got the microphone, and of course the first time I used it was a Q&A answer vid. It took everybody by surprise. And again, it just kind of worked. And after a couple of months, I even kind of stopped doing scripted reviews, and I gained enough confidence to just kind of sit down and bullshit, basically, like I'm doing now, to just sit down and talk about things and feel like I knew what I'm doing. I'm going to be able to make something at least moderately interesting. Of course, 2020 also saw a bit of a resurgence in the music vids. Again, they'd never fully gone away, but they were a bit stronger for a couple of years there. It seems to have tailed off a bit again now because I just don't have that much time, and again, ideas are running dry again. But again, I'll always keep doing them because I love doing them, even if reviews are more of the thing that I can just sit down and do every week. Anyway, that's about it. I've been going for over 20 minutes now. I hope I haven't bored you too much. Just a little indulgent history lesson about where I came from. In my 15th year. Wow, that's amazing. 15 years. Wow. A lot has changed. I would never have imagined that I'd be sitting here doing this. As for the future, I don't know, because I don't plan these things. I just do them. I certainly hope to continue doing it. I hope I'm still here in every respect for the 20th anniversary, assuming YouTube is still here. Because I enjoy it, and while I enjoy it, I will keep doing it because it's fun. Anyway, thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed me rambling around memory lane. Back to a more normal kind of review video next week. Bye for now.